It's time for The Verdict. The Verdict is a lively discussion of current events and legal issues pertinent to Oklahomans. The Verdict is hosted by Kent Myers and Mick Cornett. It's time for The Verdict.
And welcome to The Verdict. I'm Kent Myers here on this Sunday morning without my partner Mick Cornett, who is away on city business and I trust is doing well for the city of Oklahoma City. We are really pleased you join us this Sunday morning to talk about something that many of you may think does not exist in Oklahoma City or in Oklahoma, and that is the problem of the homeless. Well, we have some people here today who are genuine experts on the problem nationally and locally who are going to be telling you about what is going on nationally in relation to the homeless, as well as what can be put in place here in Oklahoma City and in Tulsa for that matter to deal with problems of the homeless, particularly when the homeless person or family runs afoul of the law. We're going to be talking about a brand new concept. It would be new for us. It's not new in California. It's called the homeless court. It's where the court goes to the streets. We have two nationally recognized experts with us, as well as the chairman of the National Commission on Homelessness and Poverty with us. We'll be talking to them in just a moment. Let's take a break. We'll see you in just a minute. And welcome back to The Verdict. I'm Kent Myers, flying solo today without my partner Mick Cornett, who will be back with us next Sunday morning. Today we're going to be talking about a problem that exists not only in Oklahoma City but nationally, but it's one in Oklahoma City that has not received much attention, but we hope today's show will contribute to a change in that. And that is the problem of the homeless in Oklahoma City and how they interact with the court system. We have three fine guests this morning. To my left is the Honorable Peter Deddeh, the Superior Court Judge from San Diego County, California. Judge Deddeh is a graduate of the University of San Diego Law School, was a district attorney doing prosecutorial work for 15 years prior to being appointed to the bench by Governor Pete Wilson. He is the presiding judge for the homeless court and has been for the last 3 years, and is his first visit to The Verdict. Judge, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Jim.
We're glad to have you. Across the table is Stephen Binder. Stephen is a public defender in San Diego County, California, has been since 1989, and as a matter of fact is the founder of the homeless court program in San Diego, which was the, I guess, the pilot for others that have been founded thereafter. Stephen graduated from the Thomas Jefferson School of Law, as a matter of fact, a different Thomas Jefferson, but he also got his undergraduate degree from Thomas Jefferson University. He, as I say, founded the program, and in 2004, the Homeless Court program was named by several prestigious organizations as one of the top 50 innovative projects in court administration in the United States. Stephen, thanks for joining us. Since you're here on a short visit, we appreciate you giving us some of your time.
Thank you for having us.
Right next to me is my partner, Will Hoch. Will is the chairman of the American Bar Association Committee on the Homeless. Will obtained his undergraduate and law degree from Catholic University in Washington, D.C., has been practicing litigation work in Oklahoma City for the past 15 years. Does a grand job with that. But he, as I indicated, is the chairman of the ABA Commission on the Homeless and has brought about this meeting. Thank you so much for bringing the guests and facilitating this meeting.
Well, thank you. We're excited to be in Oklahoma City.
Well, let me start right back with you, Will, and let's talk just a minute about what is the problem of the homeless. Why are we addressing it? What kind of circumstances does it present in Oklahoma City and nationally?
Sure. Well, why don't we start nationally? Nationally, there are about, on an average basis, there's about 3.5 million individuals that will experience homelessness this year. Of those 3.5 million, 1,350,000 will be children. It's a horrific and growing problem throughout the country, and Oklahoma City is not immune from those statistics.
Well, Will, I can envision some of our viewers saying, now, wait a minute, Will. Oklahoma City is always listed as having some of the most affordable housing in the country, has one of the lowest unemployment rates. How could we have a homeless problem? Can you address that?
I can. Interestingly, affordable housing, even though we do have affordable housing in Oklahoma City, the statistics indicate that in order to afford a one-bedroom house in Oklahoma, you have to have an average wage, hourly wage of $11 per hour. We might have high employment, it's just high underemployment, meaning the wages are insufficient to allow an individual to meet all of their daily needs, whether it's housing or food, etc.
Under those guidelines, one could have a minimum wage job and not be able to afford housing in Oklahoma City even.
Exactly. It's approximately $11, and right now you need to have an $11 an hour job in order to afford housing in Oklahoma City.
Well, let me ask Steve a question. What are some of the major causes of people becoming homeless? Most people, I'm sure, do not become homeless because they choose to, because they want to.
Number of reasons. I mean, there are complexities of homelessness. More ways to become homeless than there are solutions, sadly. But people are suffering economic catastrophe. There's mental health, there's substance abuse, domestic violence. There are people who have fallen out of society for a host of reasons.
Are the predominant causes is mental health, substance abuse, dire economic circumstance? Any one of those the number one cause, or can you break that down?
They can all be broken down into different fractions. No one predominates, and many overlap. And sadly, more recently, we're seeing people coming back from the military, and they end up on the streets because they suffer from post-traumatic stress, or they don't have the wherewithal to make it back to their communities.
Will, you've got these fine gentlemen and others here in Oklahoma City for a meeting of the commission. Can you tell us about what is the purpose of the commission, who sponsors it, and what are your duties?
The commission is a commission that was established by the American Bar Association in the late 80s. A result of an individual who's an attorney. His name is John Curtin. He's a lawyer from Boston who saw the issue of homelessness and saw that it was growing. And so as a leader in the bar, he decided that there should be a commission that would address educating individuals about homelessness and also finding ways in which lawyers can ameliorate the problem of homelessness and poverty.
Well, now we're not, in your commission work, are you talking about doing away with homelessness in general, or trying to improve the ways the homeless interact with the judicial system?
I think we're doing both. The idea behind the homeless court is to do what you just said, and that is have a better interaction, access to the justice system. The Commission's scope is broader than just that, and it's broader in that we are charged with going out and educating individuals about the issues of homelessness. We're also charged with educating lawyers about issues of homelessness, legal problems that they face, whether they be criminal or civil, and trying to get lawyers to advance causes on a pro bono basis to assist those that are homeless.
Well, how's your work progressing? Are you able to talk lawyers into doing pro bono work to help the homeless, or is it a hard sell?
Actually, what I have seen throughout the country is that lawyers respond. I think lawyers collectively see the need for pro bono action, and generally they do respond, and they respond in a positive way. And one of the greatest ways that they've responded is through this homeless court program.
Well, Stephen, you initiated you founded, created the Homeless Court program. Just in a couple of seconds before we take a break, tell us what made you think to do something like this? Why did you do it?
It was realizing the frustration of the prosecution, judges, clients, as well as defense attorneys in the traditional court setting that didn't have the mechanisms, the solutions to the problems homelessness represents. And we brought in the shelters, the provider network, to help round out the community and fill a basic need that otherwise wasn't available.
Well, I want to get back to that when we come back from a break. You're watching The Verdict. We're talking about homelessness and poverty in America and in Oklahoma City and what can be done about it. Please come back after these commercial words. Thank you. And welcome back to The Verdict. Kent Myers, hoping soon that Mick Cornett will join us, but it won't be this Sunday, but don't turn the station. Stay with us and listen to some very interesting discussion from three gentlemen who have joined us to talk about homelessness in the United States and in Oklahoma City and what can be done about it in relation to the judicial system. Judge Deddeh, tell us a little bit about the homeless court program, taking courts to the streets. But first, before you do, let me pull up a graphic to quote from an eminent scholar in relation to the homeless court program yourself. And that you have said, that will be coming up here in a second, I am sure. The homeless court is not a panacea and will not single-handedly end homelessness. It is, however, a practical way to remove legal obstacles from the path of those truly serious about recovery. Now, that's taken from some remarks you made earlier. With that kind of as your guide, if you choose to do that, tell our viewers about the homeless court.
Well, first and foremost, before somebody's eligible to participate in homeless court, they need to go through a recovery program. And depending on the requirements of each program, they could be in a program from 3 to 6 months before they're even eligible to come to court. And then number two, we're addressing minor misdemeanors and minor infractions. We're not dealing with people that are felons. We're not dealing with people that are violent misdemeanors, so no domestic violence, no batterers. We're dealing with people that have run afoul of the law by maybe illegally camping, drunk in public, maybe high on drugs in public. And so we're taking those people who are serious about recovery, we're taking the court to them in the homeless shelter, and we're removing the legal obstacles to get them back on track so they can be productive members of society.
I think it's important for us to focus on the fact that this is a homeless court, and that implies they've run afoul of the law in some way or another.
Correct.
And it is a criminal court. It's not a civil court.
Right, it is a criminal court.
And but they aren't the serious felons or batterers that we're dealing with here.
And because those people need to be dealt with in a more serious way. And what we're trying to do with the homeless court is allow these people who have come forward to address their problems, to address their substance abuse problems, to get back on track with their lives. If we didn't have homeless court, many of these people, once they got out of recovery, they'd still have warrants to take care of, they'd still owe fines, and that would prevent them from getting back on their feet, because if they get arrested, then a lot of times we found that when they go back into jail, they start backsliding, and then they fall back into their addiction.
Steve, you are the founder of the Homeless Court program, which I guess first started in San Diego and is now spread through a number of other jurisdictions out in California and perhaps other places. What do you see as the creator of this program as the mission of the Homeless Court program?
The significant contribution that the Homeless Court adds to the traditional court setting is the providers' work. And what
now you're going to have to tell our viewers what you mean by providers.
Are the homeless service agencies and shelters.
And Will, in Oklahoma City, that would be?
City Rescue Mission or the Jesus House.
Okay.
And so the providers work with the participants, my clients, and help them move from the streets to self-sufficiency. Basically what they do is the number of program activities, be it life skills, job counseling, computer skills, literacy training, chemical dependency classes, a whole host of services that are available for them, identifying first their greatest need, the results of what the homelessness represents, and helping them overcome those obstacles, positioning them the participants in such a way that when they come before the court, they're in a position to successfully resolve their cases. Because in the traditional court setting, they would show up in front of a judge, and the traditional mechanisms were a fine or the threat of custody. You fine a homeless person, they don't have the money to pay it, whether it's $50, $100, or $300. You put them in custody, whether it's a weekend, a month, a year, they're still homeless when they are released from custody. So when we bring in the providers, the homeless service agencies, they are helping the court resolve cases, the participants resolve cases, and the society at large resolve cases in a judicious way that provides a successful mechanism for all involved.
Well, let me ask you, you created the Homeless Court program in the late 80s in San Diego, and so you've had more than, you've had a couple of decades to deal with it. Well, a decade and a half, I guess.
Correct.
What kind of results are you seeing? And I'll ask you to address that, and then I'll, Judge, ask you to respond as well, please.
One of the most significant results is people who are feeling down and out and nothing ever goes their way. They've just been put upon in numerous ways, whether it's self-inflicted or economic catastrophe, succumbing to bad relationships, mental illness, what have you, now feel like they are contributing to society. So when a judge comes in and says, you get credit for your program participation, that reinforces the value of the work they've undertaken. And for individuals to feel good about themselves after months, sometimes years of despair is a significant contribution that the court makes. In addition to that, actually resolving cases saves the courts and the community a great deal of money and overcomes the frustrations of this downward cycle of fines, incarceration, and return to court.
Is the recidivism rate improved, or I guess recidivism rate lowered by virtue of this program?
It's lowered significantly. We see very few people coming back a second time, and in turn, there was an evaluation done by San Diego Regional Government back in the early 90s, about 5 years ago, and they said the recidivism rate at that point was like 18%.
Judge, what's your take on this? You deal with it all the time. You're the presiding judge of the Homeless Court. How do you see what do you see as the results?
Well, first of all, the value to the community is that we're helping people get back on track, and we're helping people that are serious about recovery getting back on track, which is a huge contribution to the community, because that's one less person the police have to arrest for drunken public. That's one less person that is camped out in a park next to your house and causing problems there. Secondly, we probably run about 500 people through homeless court a year, and each person has usually an average of 2 or 3 cases, so we're talking about 1,500 cases a year that would normally be warrants that the police would be looking to arrest people on, and those are cases that we're touching. Every time that person comes to court, our court has to touch that case, and that there's a cost involved in putting those cases on calendar, bringing those defendants to court from jail, etc. All those costs are saved because this person's cases are resolved, we're not touching that case again, and the police don't have to arrest this person again. So even if they're clean and sober for a year, that's 1 year less of them being involved with the law, which has a societal cost.
Well, kind of in the few seconds we have remaining, could you see the homeless court being something that could happen in Oklahoma City?
Oh, I think without a doubt. It's a program that has been replicated now throughout the country, and with the services that are available here through some of the shelters that are already providing some of the services that Steve spoke of, we could have a successful homeless court program here in Oklahoma City.
Well, I'm sorry we're out of time. Thanks to our guests, Judge Deddeh, Mr. Binder, and Will Hoch. Good luck on your meeting here. We're going to take a break, and I'll be back with you in just a minute. Thanks, folks.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Appreciate it.
Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. I'm Kent Myers. We have just finished a very interesting discussion, and we really do appreciate the participation of Judge Peter Deddeh, Mr. Stephen Binder, and Will Hoch on the problems of the homeless nationally and in Oklahoma City, and particularly how the homeless persons who run afoul of the law and end up in the court system can be addressed a little differently than might be normally the case. This is a homeless court project that is starting to see the light of day in a lot of parts of the country, and the ABA Commission on Homelessness and Poverty meeting here in Oklahoma City is going to be talking about how it might be adapted to an Oklahoma City environment as well as other places. But we thank our guests for taking time to come visit us. Next week, we're going to be talking with Janice Lloyd. Janice Lloyd is a bankruptcy lawyer, very well thought of here in Oklahoma, and we're going to be talking about the new Bankruptcy Act. It is going to affect the rights of debtors and creditors in significant ways, and we hope to bring that to you in a way that you find useful. If you have an idea for a show, join us on the Verdict website, www.theverdict.tv. Tell us what you'd like to see. Speaking for Mick Cornett, thanks for joining us this Sunday. We'll see you next week.